Hi everyone, broadcasters all around the globe, crinklers and TBCans all around the globe. You're welcome to this live broadcast today, and this is the voice of the TBC Royal Ambassador, broadcasting live from Nigeria. Today we shall be discussing the topic which says, it is time for broadcasters and the TBC community to ground themselves to gold. It's time for broadcasters and TBC community to ground themselves to gold. As we all know, TBC is a private currency, and therefore it should be regarded as such. It should be referred as such. Hence, we need to refer to it and honor it as a private currency, which should not be compared with fiat currency. TBC is measured in value of grains of gold. Though we are not tied to gold, but for now it is measured in grains of gold. And when we do so, comparing it or measuring it or valuing it in gold, then we are grounded. Without wasting time, I'd like to share the screen now so that we can understand better what admin is saying concerning this very topic. Okay, there we are. It is time for broadcasters and the TBC community to ground themselves to go. And we have said we don't want any confusion about our private status in the world today. Public regulators are looking for any excuse to rob our private currency. Like I said, we all know that TBC or the billion coin is a private currency. And we must know that. But the public regulators are looking for ways or any excuse to be able to rob our private currency and tie us down, because they would care less about our mission to end poverty globally. As we all know, the public regulators belong to the elite, and therefore they wouldn't even want anyone to have that mission of ending poverty globally. So all they care about is how to rob the private currency called the TBC and tie us down. We must understand one thing: government is a force. Force is the nature of government, and they rule over the public. Yet governments are bound also by law. We must know and recognize here today that government is a force, and therefore they rule by force, but they are also bound by law. This is my opinion that as a whole, humanity lacks the maturity to live without government today. So hear me loud and clear. Admin is not anti-government. As of today, the humanity cannot live without the government. We are not mature to such an extent. And therefore, we are not anti-government either. Of course, I will never support the abuse of power that continues to come out of government, even today in modern times. Private societies such as ours have lawfully existed for thousands of years to my knowledge. Private communities like our own have been existing for more than thousands years ago. Therefore, we must know that we would never support the abuse of power that continues to come out of government, even today in modern times. There are a lot of abuse of power that have been observed, being perpetrated by people in government against the general public. We will not support that. But we are yet not anti-government. Now, let's get back to the main word, the private. Private simply means outside of the domain of government. So when we say private currency, we are saying that our currency is outside the domain of the government. So private equals self-regulated. What we are doing is lawful, and it is important that every member have behave in a lawful manner when they are talking about TBC. Research, research has shown us that we are grounded when we compare the value of our private currency to the value of gold. But can be problematic when we compare our value to any fiat or money regulated by government. This is the official call out to all broadcasters and every member of TBC to stop comparing our coin to fiat. Okay, what are we talking about here? We are saying that in order for us to be able to escape being robbed by public finance regulators, we must adhere to the fact that TBC is a private currency, and therefore every broadcaster and members in the TBC community must stop comparing the TBC with any fiat currency. Stop comparing it with the currencies in your country. Stop comparing it with naira or dollars or euro. And let's try as much as possible to measure it in gold. And when we value our currency in gold, at the end of the day, we'll be able to see the relationship or to correlate it indirectly with those currencies. Gold has its own value that cut across every ethnic or national currency values. So for us to continue to compare the value of our coin, the TBC, with any fiat currency in the world is to be violating the law or the law that guides the mission of the TBC. TBC is a private currency and should be valued as such, to be seen as such, and not being compared with any fiat currency. We should try as much as possible to only value it in gold. So it is high time broadcasters and everyone board the TBC community to continue to ground themselves in gold. Measure your worth in gold. Just as we stated, we would in the first public notice, we have removed the reference to any fiat from our websites. Clearly, our admin fee is for grain, that is for grain of gold. We encourage and reward transactions that are done at increment of 40 grain of gold. The government did not make gold. Mother Earth has provided us this gold, and she won't stop us from measuring the value of our coin against the value of gold. We don't want to upset any government regulator by our words, and that is why each and every member needs to embrace the reference of gold and stop referencing fiat. As you can see in the poster below, we have marked cash flow achievement in grain of gold, and you would know that a third-party calculator for grain is on your ACBO dashboard, that is Kringle Cash Back Office. There are 480 grain in 1 troy ox of gold. All TBC members should become experts in grain of gold. So what are we talking about? This topic is talking about the fact that if you must be a member in this TBC community, you should become expert in grain of gold. So when you see the value of your coin or your Kringles in gold, then you should be able to do whatsoever conversion you need to do to be able to know your worth. So the measurement or the value of our TBC now is in gold. Therefore, we should try as much as possible to become experts in grain of gold. Yes. Step in cash flow achievement. You can see here, this is the example that tells us that our value now is in grain of gold per day. So first, you can have 40 grain of gold per day, 200 grain of gold per day, that's step 2. Then step 3, you'll be having 200 grain of gold per day. Step 4, 400 grain of gold per day. Step 5, 1000 grain of gold per day. And step 6 is 2000 grain of gold per day for you to be able to, that's what you'll be making in your cash flow. But TBT or Kringles are not backed by gold. And that means our TBC or Kringles comes from our members, and we measure that value in grain of gold. We do not want to be sloppy making this clear when we are inviting others to join us in our private community and society. So we must know that the true value of TBC is based on the number of living men and living women that join us in agreement as members. We simply measure that value in gold. This is a very serious matter. We want to be at peace with all governments and their respective regulators all around the world. We don't interfere with the public, so they should not interfere with us in the private. I've been asked for your full cooperation and thank you in advance for it. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have heard throughout the broadcast today that for us to remain a private community that we are, every broadcaster and everyone on board the TBC community need to ground themselves to go. So, for us to escape the roping of the government regulators or public regulators of fiat currencies, we need to stop measuring or valuing the TBC in any fiat currency, either naira or dollar or pound sterling or euro. You don't compare them with the TBC because the TBC or our Kringle is a private currency, and therefore we don't need to continue to compare it with fiat currency of any government or any nation. And therefore, it is high time that every member on board the TBC community stop comparing our coins to fiat. And this is to help us to be able to abide by the rules and regulations that guides the formulation of this TBC. And also, we know that government is a force and they rule by force and they have their laws that governs their country and the money they spend. So in order for us not to violate the rules and regulations of this government of these various nations, a private currency should not be compared with public currency anymore. Therefore, we have decided, the admin have decided to remove anything that has to do with fiat currency or comparison that has to do with fiat currency from our website. And therefore, from now, every member should try as much as possible to learn how to do their calculations in gold. And therefore, we must know that there are 480 grain of gold in one choice ox of gold. So all TBC members should become experts in grains of gold. If we go over it, we have seen that admin as much as possible for all broadcasters to be able to abide by this. Admin has tried as much as possible to change and to give us an example by these steps in cash flow achievement. So this is a note of warning to all broadcasters. Never again to broadcast and to talk about the value of the TBC in any in comparison with any fiat currency. You can see here in this cash flow chart here that per day we should be able to make at least 40 grains per day, and then step 2, 100 grain of gold per day. Step 3 will be 200 grain of gold per day. That's what each person should be able to be making in cash flow. So, and in step 4, we have it as 400 grain of gold per day. Step 5, 1,000 grain of gold per day. And step 6, with 2,000 grain of gold per day. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to believe that we have gained one way or the other from this broadcast today, and that this is not saying that there's a problem with the TBC, but just to advise every one of us to know how to value our currency. Our currency is now to be referred to as the private currency that it is, and therefore should not be compared with any form of fiat currency. TBC remains a private currency and it should be valued in gold as from now. This is to help us not to fall into the trap of any government or being robbed by any government of any nation. And therefore, admin has henceforth removed any form of comparison with any fiat currency from the website. And therefore, everyone on board the TBC community should stop broadcasting or valuing the TBC in comparison with any form of fiat currency. It is measured for now in gold, and so it should remain. And this is a clarion call to everyone on board the TBC community again to go ahead grounding themselves in the measurement of gold. To try as much as possible to know how to value a gold. And as we have been told that 480 grain of gold is what makes 1 troy of us of gold. So we should go ahead to learn how to value gold, to learn measurement of gold. And that is what we have today to compare our or to value our TBC. We should know that the value of our TBC is determined by the number of membership, and it remains as such. Thanks for listening. Because you are there, that is why I'm encouraged to broadcast. And this still remains the TBC Royal Ambassador, Wakule Johnson from Nigeria. See you next time. Love you all.